So today's film is based on a true story. The year is 1998 and we are shown Indonesia, where the people had started massive protests against the government. In the beginning, people just wanted their voices to be heard, but the situation deteriorates so rapidly that the whole atmosphere turns into a bloody riot. Under the cover of these protests, many evils also begin to emerge: looting and violence, murder and atrocities against girls become commonplace. All of this becomes normal, and the strangest thing is that people start disappearing from there. There were many cases filed regarding all those atrocities, but to this day, none of those cases have been solved, and they have become a dark stain on history. It is in this very atmosphere that our story begins, and we are introduced to two teachers. Janwa and Rahim used to post news about incidents happening in the city on the school's notice board. People were sitting and cutting out news from the newspaper when suddenly their door opens on its own. Something invisible enters from there, and suddenly it attacks both of them. They can't even do anything to save themselves, and that entity kills them both in a truly horrifying way. The bodies were so gruesome that they couldn't even be looked at. From one of the bodies, it had completely severed the neck, and witnessing all this was extremely terrifying. The scene shifts. Now we are shown a girl named Anita who was staying in a hostel in Rahat. At night, she feels a strange breeze. She hears the wind and also hears a knock at the door. When she goes to check, she sees a strange entity outside the door, completely white in color, with a horrific cut on its neck from which blood is oozing out. Seeing this, Anita is so terrified that she immediately shuts the door. At this moment, she is trembling with fear. Her friend Nurul comes to her and asks what happened. But Anisa, out of fear, doesn't tell her anything, and they both lie back down to sleep. Anyway, the next day, when the two of them are on their way to school, Nurul asks Anisa on the way, "Will you tell me what you saw?" So Anisa tells the truth and says, "I saw a demon last night." Both of them were still unaware that two boys named Sitro and Ali had overheard their conversation. The atmosphere at school also felt a bit strange today. Some students noticed that today a different teacher is putting up news on the notice board. That teacher even asks Bhagat where the previous teacher is. But without giving any answer, he just walks away, because he knows that both of the previous teachers have been killed, and under no circumstances can they give this news to the students, as it would cause panic in the school. After a while, when the situation gets even worse, the teacher simply makes an announcement in the school that all students should leave and go to their respective hostels because things outside are getting very bad. Meanwhile, Ali and the women who were smoking outside the class see all the students heading towards their hostels and realize that something is definitely wrong at the school because nothing like this has ever happened before. At this moment, the conversation from the morning with Anisa is on his mind, and he says to his friend that maybe you're right. Maybe something really is going on at the school, but the women weren't entirely convinced. He then decides that he'll talk to Anisa himself and ask her what exactly she saw. So the two of them go to her, and without any further questions, he directly asks her, "Did you see the demon?" Anisa nods her head and says yes. While they're talking, the teacher, who is quite knowledgeable, arrives and smells the cigarette smoke coming from the boys. The topic of conversation quickly changes at that point. And then, the teacher sends all of them back to their hostel. Steve knew for sure that something was definitely wrong, but he just couldn't figure out what it was. He says, "Did you notice that since this morning, Teacher Rahim and Teacher 96 haven't been seen at school?" Ali tells him not to overthink it, saying maybe they just went home. Meanwhile, we see Anisa's room, where the window opens on its own. After closing the window, she lies down to sleep, but she was still feeling uneasy. Maybe that's why, once again in her dreams, she sees that headless entity which frightens her and makes her want to scream, and she runs out of the room. Running, she reaches a well. There she hides and hears the footsteps of someone in the distance. She hides near the well and watches. There she sees someone burying some packets under the ground with one hand. She realizes that this must be related to black magic. On the other side, we are shown a teacher who, upon going to a room to see the bodies of his two friends, breaks down in tears. He had never imagined that his friends would be separated from him in such a way. While he is mourning their loss, another man is busy performing black magic. He bites a lizard with his mouth and pours its blood into a vessel, and then, in place of the two dead teachers' bodies, there are now He makes small effigies and performs some kind of ritual on them, as a result of which, on the other side, the corpses come back to life. Seeing this, their companion becomes extremely frightened and shuts his eyes in terror. The corpses come close to his ear and say, "Now everything is over." After hearing this, as soon as Samir opens his eyes, he sees that the corpses have disappeared from there. In reality, the black magic practitioner had turned these corpses into Chong. That is, with his magic, he had summoned an evil entity into these corpses, which is why these corpses were now openly committing murders here. This is what Samir understood. That's why he wanted to leave immediately. But suddenly, the door here shuts closed. Then from above, both sides vomit blood onto him, and this blood is so hot that his entire face gets burned. At this time, Shatru and Anisa both hear Samir's screams, and when they rush to save him, they see that Samir has completely turned into a ghost. They can't understand what happened to Samir, so they take him to his quarters, where Anisa tells everyone that she feels this is all the result of black magic, but no one believes her. After this, things get even worse. So they call a very respected and honorable ustad. When he arrives and learns that the bodies of 2 ustads have disappeared from here, he becomes even angrier at the rest of the staff and says that those bodies should have been buried on time. But here, Ridwan tells him that there was so much trouble with the police that they completely forgot about the funeral. Then, Ustad Sahib gathers everyone for prayer, and during the prayer, one of the boys sees that same apparition, which he mistakes for his own hallucination for a moment. But in the very next moment, an even bigger problem arises. The usta who was leading the prayer at the front suddenly disappears. And so, it is assumed that the situation is worse than they thought, and now all the junior teachers decide to have all the children sleep together in one hall, so that at the very least, everyone can protect each other together. To find out what exactly was happening and the reason behind it, at night, Shatru goes to the head office with his friend Ali, and there, through newspapers, he learns that in the city, there were massive protests happening in the city along with mass killings, and all this information had been kept hidden from them. Before they could find out anything more, a teacher arrives and both of them quickly hide in fear. On the other side, we are shown the hall. Suddenly, Anisa wakes up from her sleep. She notices that there is no one else in the hall at this time, and Nurul, her friend, is behaving very strangely. Anisa goes over to Nurul and sees that she has been possessed, and indeed, she is now possessed. Noodles comes close to her ear and says, "It's all over." Saying this, she was just about to move towards Anisa to attack her, but suddenly Anisa wakes up and we realize that it was just a bad dream. Nurul was fine and everyone was around her. In the morning, when Anisa was about to go to the washroom, the same headless entity that had been scaring her repeatedly comes close to her ear and tells her about a cottage, urging her to go there. Anisa becomes confused, wondering what is so special about that cottage that the entity keeps insisting she go there. Lost in these thoughts, they go near the cottage and start peeking inside. Meanwhile, Ali and the women also go to teacher Samir's room and see that he is still unconscious. Seeing Stephen, he says, "I think some kind of death has come over him," meaning he is drunk. But Riley says, "I think he's just sick." While they are talking, suddenly Samir's body lifts up into the air. Seeing this, Ali gets so scared that he runs away from there, because now he is certain that there really was some kind of death or spirit inside Sir Samir's body. At this time, when Anisa was near the well, she saw a small packet lying there, which she picked up. Just then, she noticed her teacher, Bugs, busy burying something in the ground at a distance, and this made Anisa suspicious that all of this was Bugs doing. Meanwhile, Nurul arrives and Anisa shows him everything and tells him the whole truth. Kitty Chai Bhagat is performing magic here. She also shows him the packet she picked up near the well. Out of fear, Anisa snatches the packet from his hand and throws it away, telling him to leave from there. On the way, Nurul suddenly starts feeling pain in his eyes, and within moments, blood begins to drip from his eyes. He writhes in pain, and seeing his agony, Anisa becomes restless. She wants to call someone for help, but she can't leave Nurul alone here either. Writhing in pain, Nurul stumbles here and there and suddenly comes near a well, then abruptly jumps into it. Fortunately, Anisa was nearby. She grabbed Nurul with both hands and tried to save him, but it became clear that there was an entity inside the well that was pulling Nurul down, and because of this, Anisa was unable to save him and Nurul died. After Nurul's death, a dispute breaks out between the principal and Ustad Baksh because Baksh insists that the children should be sent home so they can be safe there, but Ridwan believes that they can stay safe by remaining here. For the safety of all the students, they decide to pray together once again and gather in one room. However, because they pray together, many evil entities attack them, and one after another, several students become possessed at the same time. On the other hand, we are shown that Satriya was trying to leave for his home. That's why he goes into Professor Samir's room to collect his belongings and sees that Samir is eating glass. Seeing his condition, they are frightened, but Satriya does not forget his purpose. He takes the keys from there and heads outside, and Anisa sees him leaving and tries to stop him. She tries to explain to him that if he goes outside, he will be killed. But because of the destruction of his family, he does not listen to Ali and Anisa and leaves from there. When he is found, he sees that now people are roaming around everywhere with weapons in their hands. These people would have killed him too, but he pretends to be dead by hiding among the corpses lying on the ground and manages to save his life from them. On the other hand, we are now shown the woman's house where someone knocks on the door. When her dad opens the door, someone suddenly attacks him and kills him, hanging his dead body in their own house. Meanwhile, we are now shown Anita. She was sitting sadly, lost in her past. It is revealed that when she was very young, her mother was pregnant again. They were extremely poor. So much so that often there was nothing to eat at home. Her dad was fed up with this poverty, and that's why he found a strange way to escape it. For this path, for this act, Anita's mother was not ready. Anita's dad wanted to take the unborn child from her mother's womb. But instead of sacrificing her unborn child, her mother sacrificed herself. She slit her own throat and ended her life right then and there. On the other hand, the next morning, when the women regain consciousness along with the other corpses, it is discovered that she had not been taken to a hospital with the other bodies. At that time, he was unconscious. When he regained consciousness, he immediately ran towards his home. As soon as he reached home, his mom hugged him, and when he asked about his dad, his mom took him to another room where Strian broke down. His dad had passed away. Strian then decided that he would hold a funeral for his dad, but his mom refused to let him do so because outside there were many people who were turning corpses into chong, meaning they were summoning evil entities into the bodies and bringing them back to life. Because of this, they couldn't even leave the body outside. So Strian decides that they will bury his dad in their own backyard, and his mom agrees to this. Strian, who by now had learned about the situation in the whole city, tells his mom, "I know that these people are killing good magicians, but Dad wasn't a magician." In response, his mom tells him that his dad had some special privileges. Because of those special privileges, he could sense evil entities, and if people had been possessed by those entities, he would help them as well. Strian was learning about this for the first time today, and he was very sad for his dad. After his dad's funeral, Strian's mom sends him back to school because that place was the safest. He wanted to take his mom with him too, but his mom refused, saying, "Who will take care of the house then?" Meanwhile, on the other side at school, we see that when Anita is cooking, she suddenly sees that same severed head in a pot, the one she keeps seeing repeatedly. She quickly closes the pot again, and as she moves upward, she sees a maid in front of her who, at that moment, is possessed. Right in front of Anita, the maid slits her own throat, and Anita can't bear to watch any of it. The blood splatters even land on Anita's face. Anita becomes extremely frightened. She starts looking for the teachers, but she can't find anyone. When she tried to find the teacher in a panic, where exactly was the teacher hiding? She was found at the back. By this time, she had also become possessed. She was behaving strangely and was biting her fingernails. When Anisa, frightened, tried to run away from there, the door closed on its own. The teacher lunged at her to attack, but at that moment, Anisa started to pray, which irritated the teacher so much that she stabbed herself in the head with a cutter and died right there. After all this, when Anisa was sitting alone, the headless entity came to her again and told her to check a cottage. After hearing this, she went to teacher Bagas and told him the whole story about the entity and asked him to check the cottage. But Bagas said he couldn't do it because it was illegal. The matter then reached Principal Ridwan, but he also wasn't willing to open the cottage. During their conversation, Satrio also arrived and supported Anisa, insisting that they should open the cottage. Together, they broke down the door of the cottage. And inside, they found items related to black magic. This was Bagas's cottage, so all suspicion fell on Bagas. But Bagas said that he was only working for the school's protection, though no one believed him, and the students tied him up. Now, everything was in the students' hands. It was decided that the principal's cottage would also be checked. As they were heading there, another spirit with a severed head appeared in front of one of the students. It put its hand inside the girl's body, pulled out all her intestines, and killed her. Seeing this, they realized that Bagas was not the one practicing black magic, but rather someone else who was still carrying out their rituals. Now Ali and his friend took the girl to Bagas. Meanwhile, on the other side, Sri and Anisa were outside a cottage. The door was locked, so Sri broke it down and went inside. But as soon as Sri entered, the door closed on its own. Anisa was left outside. She tried hard to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Then Anisa saw the same spirit with the slit throat outside Ridwan's cottage, and she realized that this spirit was actually showing her the way and wasn't evil. From outside Ridwan's cottage, she started peeking inside. Looking carefully inside, she sees that someone is performing dark black magic there. She quickly leaves to inform the others. But the terrifying power of the black magic pulls her inside the cottage as well, and the heavy door shuts once again. On the other hand, the children had freed Bugs so that he could heal Fatih, because Fatih, the injured boy, was still alive. But before Bugs could do anything, the power goes out, and at this point, the biggest twist of the movie is revealed. The person performing black magic is none other than the principal himself. Using black magic, he lifts Anisa into the air and nails her hands and feet. Anisa starts praying to save herself, and Ridwan laughs when he sees her doing this and tells her, "Even great scholars and powerful sorcerers have given up here. What have you studied? You too will be burned soon." Here, he reveals that he is a very powerful black magician and that he orchestrated all these killings so that by offering so many sacrifices to the devil, he could summon Satan into this world. At this moment, Manisha notices that he is performing black magic inside, and all the pochangs working here were acting on the sorcerer's orders, while he was busy blackmailing Anisa at the same time. Stryon senses it. He stands here and starts fighting with Vidwan, but Vidwan's powers were far greater. At this time, there were many evil powers with him, but Stryon was not someone to give up easily. He knew he had to save himself and all his friends. In just a short while, he manages to overpower Vidwan, and now Vidwan, to make himself even stronger, sends many pochangs at his command to kill the children. But now, Bagaj also started using his magic so that he could save all the children. On the other side, we are shown Anisa and Stryon again, who were still fighting Principal Vidwan. Anisa tells Stryon to break the clay pot kept there, inside which all the magic was happening. Without wasting any time, Stryon picks up the clay pot and throws it, and as soon as he does, all the black magic happening there comes to a halt. Ridwan. All the puppets that Ridwan had created with his black magic, those corpses became lifeless once again and fell right there, and the attack on the children ended. Their lives were saved. Actually, Ridwan's plan was to keep all the children in the school and, after killing them all, turn them into puppets as well, making it an even bigger sacrifice. That's why, from the very first day, he wasn't letting the children go home. Anyway, as soon as the magic broke, Anisa and the women came out of Scottish. And a little while later, we see a huge ball of fire fall from the sky and land on one of Ridwan's cottages. The place catches fire, and Ridwan is burned to death in it. This was the punishment that God gave him. After all his evil deeds, the massacre finally came to an end. The next morning, Anisa was sitting with the women. She comforts them, telling them that everything will be all right. Moving forward, don't worry about what's ahead. That day, Anisa says, "I hope all this never happens again." The women smile, and as she leaves, she knows what she has lost in all of this. Her good friend, her dad, and her good teachers also leave from the women's place, and as soon as they go, the same entity with the slit throat and blood flowing from her neck comes to Anisa. The twist is revealed that the entity who was always with Anisa, supporting her, was none other than Anisa's own mother, who had given her life. She was protecting her son at every moment. In this darkness, she was always with her daughter. Finally, before the film ends, we are told that this movie is based on a true story, and with all this, the movie comes to an end here.